Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Meet the Candidates. I'm your host, Jonathan Grabowski, as we go through spring 2022 election season in the town of Marshfield. Joining me on the show today is a candidate for school committee, and that's Rich Greer. Rich, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we've had you on a few times over the years about school committee. So before we get into everything that's been going on over the past few years, the past term, who is Rich Greer?
Well, Rich Greer is somebody that moved here in 1972. I went through school here. I went to Ames Way, Grace Rider, Furnace Brook, and then the high school. I plan on always living here. I have 6 kids I have 2 still in the school system, one at Daniel Webster, one at the high school. My other 4 are either in college or beyond college at this point. So, yeah. So
community involvement. You're pretty involved in the community.
I am. I belong to a bunch of different fraternal organizations in the town. We do a lot of community activities, where it be cookouts or fundraising. Yep.
So this would be term number 4 for you on the school committee. Wow, I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4. So you've served for a few years now. So what made you decide way back when? Well,
I looked at what the board was doing at the time, and they were doing a lot of good things. One of them was the new high school, as well as some of the way the education was structured here. I saw some room for improvement, but overall I thought they did a great job, and I wanted to be part of that team. And I had the opportunity, and I've been there ever since.
What have been some of the accomplishments you think over that time?
Well, one of the things is the new high school is open now, yeah. Right? I can't take credit for it, but I was elected when we finally opened it. We've made a lot of policy changes. Not every student is the same, so we're trying to shape our policies to put everybody on an even playing field. Some of the budgetary things, it's not just about students, right? We have an obligation to the taxpayers in this community. So keeping the budget under control is a big one, and a lot of the stuff goes unnoticed. Right. Folks only see what we do at the school committee meetings, but there's so much work behind the scenes.
Right. I was going to actually talk to you about that later on.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
No, you're not. No, it's your show. So, if you could jump in the time machine to the start of that time on school committee, what would you tell yourself?
To go back, I made the right decision.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Well, I feel as though that we're doing, and it's not just me, right? We have a board, there's 5 of us, and I feel that we all bring something different to the table, and we don't necessarily always agree. But I think collectively we make the right decision of what's in the best interest of the town, right? And to be a part of that it's job satisfaction for me.
Excellent. So why have you decided to seek re-election?
That's a good question, right? So I think I still have a lot of value to add to the community. And I'm hoping folks out there feel the same way. And if so, I'll be re-elected. At the point where I cease to add value, then it's time for me to go.
Okay, so a little Civics 101 here that we always ask people about various positions that they're running for. So what's the role of the school committee, in your words?
So in theory, we hire and terminate the superintendent. Hopefully he's not watching. He knows we hire them. We set the budget and we affect policy.
Okay.
Those are the big ticket items.
So you mentioned all the work, and people don't see it. And I've talked to a lot of school committee members in the past. I know a lot of them. Talk to me what goes on behind the scenes, all the work. I don't think people realize all the work that goes on.
Oh, right. So we have, probably a dozen or so subcommittees. So in addition to that 2.5, 3 hour school committee meeting, all of us are assigned to various subcommittees, which we have transportation. So right now we're looking at busing, right, making that more efficient, more cost effective. We have capital budget. We have the list goes on and on and on. We have a fields committee that works with the DPW. Okay. Yeah, there's quite a few of them.
So you just don't show up on Tuesday night.
Right. In addition to that, we also have a representative that works with Social Collaborative. We have myself. I'm as part of being on the Marshfield School Committee. I'm actually on 2 MIAA boards. I'm on for rugby and baseball. So we have that. We also have school councils. So every member is at least on one school council, right? 5 members, 7 school councils. So, yeah, so it's all this stuff outside, and we try to also attend every function that we can.
Yeah, a lot of events.
Yeah, that's 7 schools, a lot of events, and then you have PTO and all those other organizations. We try to.
Remember Arnie Briggs, when he served on, he used to talk about getting the big packet of stuff prior to a few days before. Do you still get the packet, or are we now in a digital world where it's like a big Google Doc or something?
Yeah, fortunately we're in the digital world. When I first got on, the first, I think it was 3 years, we were still getting the packet. And then we, once we phased in this one-to-one initiative, that's around the time we transitioned to electronic. Yeah.
So you mentioned the subcommittees. Talk about some of the subcommittees you've served on.
So I've been on policy. So way back when, it was myself and Sean Costello. Actually, we had help from MASC as well as the superintendent. We literally rewrote every single policy for the school district. It was quite an undertaking. It took many months to do that. I've been on capital budgets. I've been on transportation. I've had some ad hoc assignments, being liaison to capital projects, right within, we put the roof on Furnace Brook, that was one. We have all sorts of other projects going on too. I think I've done everything at this point. I was a CPAC representative 1 year, which was very, very interesting. That's an area, when I got on the school committee, I knew nothing about special education.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what's the current state of the school district?
I think we're in good shape. I mean, compared to what I've seen around the state, we are a high-performing district in terms of just our school committee members. They're all engaged. They all have an interest, and it's not a personal interest. It's an interest in the community, right, in making it better for everyone.
So what's something that you think the school committee is doing well, and one thing that you think, hey, we might be able to improve upon this?
Well, we can always improve on everything, but I think our approach, we have 5 people, very different viewpoints. There is no quid pro quo. We discuss issues and we learn from each other and make the right decision. I think we do that very, very well. We don't find out information at the meeting. Every member reads, through all the material ahead of the meeting. So that a lot of school committees don't do that. It's a title. They show up at a meeting and they find out what's going on at the meeting.
What's the biggest challenge facing the district, and if you're reelected, how would you work to address it?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is balancing, I guess, what the student needs are against what we can handle in the budget, right? It really comes down to financial, and there's a lot of things we'd like to be able to do. It's just we can't afford it, right? It'd be cost prohibitive. I remember when I first got on, we were looking at our budget. I forget what it was then. It was $30,000, and I had anticipated, based on the current spend rate, within 17 years it would be over $100 million, right? And here we are this year coming up on 54 million, right? So how do we? People that don't get increases at their jobs to sustain that, right? So. But we do have employees. We have teachers. We have, ESPs and all the other custodians and whatnot, and they have to be able to live, right? So balancing out, what it costs to sustain our employees versus what the community can afford to pay, and also providing our students with a quality education, and that's a difficult balance.
So if you're reelected, what's something that you want to focus on? What's going to be that thing Rich Greer focuses on over the next term?
The thing I want to focus on is working with Tom Miller, who's the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance. to try to streamline our budget. Tom does a really, really good job with it, but when you have 54 million, there's always room for improvement within that, right? So that we can get a better bang for our buck. So I'm looking at things there, so we're getting better value for the money invested, without making cuts, right?
So past 2 years, COVID's been a big focal point of all these candidate programs I've done. Hopefully this is the last year I ever mention it. So looking back on now, how do you think the district handled it? And are there things you would have done differently?
Well, I had a different idea right from the beginning, but I work in the biotech industry.
Right.
So what I know versus what's available for everybody to know is different. I'm not even going to criticize what was done because one of the policies that Sean and I wrote was that whatever happens, every member supports the decision and the will of the committee, right? So I think I would have probably pushed for a full return to school, never hybrid or never remote. But woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? We're beyond that, and I support the decision of the committee, even though I was the one that voted against it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if something like this were to happen again, how would you address it?
That's interesting. I don't know, because of the available information at the time. It's very, very difficult to present something that's different from what people are hearing, right? So I become the outlier rather than the voice of reason. I don't know if there's anything that I could have done differently.
Yeah. So, now, what's something you bring to the table in regards to being on the school committee?
I bring a business aspect to it. So, yeah, I'm used to managing large capital budgets. Actually, my budget at work is much larger than the school district's budget. So, not that means anything, but I have experience dealing with large numbers. And also, just kind of how to focus in different areas within that budget, right, to get the best value, right? And I bring that as well as some of the technology background, right? So when we start getting into state-of-the-art learning and things like that, that's where I can bring some value to the table there.
So, being on the school committee, you're one of 5 members.
Yep.
So how do you work with your fellow members to make sure the district is as best it can be?
I had alluded to it, or actually stated it earlier. We talk to each other. Occasionally, the voices raise a little bit and the volume increases a little bit, but in the end, we make the right decision as a committee. And there may be some members. Sometimes I don't get the result that I want, but it's not about me. It's about us, right? Which is the community. So I think overall, I'd give our school committee an A+, right? And we make the right decisions for our community.
The question I'm asking, I found it interesting because there was a governor's race, I believe, in the past year, where one of the big issues between the two candidates was about parents having a say in their schools. So how much say should parents have in regards to what their children are learning in school?
I think the parent, to me, again, coming from the business end, it's the voice of the customer, right? So we're providing a service, and that service is education. So our end users or our customers are the students and the parents, right? And I think that their voices should be heard, right? We have to operate within the framework that the state has laid out for us, right? So our hands are tied in certain areas, but I think it's good to have transparency, right? And to listen to the parents, right? That there's some things that, as a parent, I don't necessarily want my kids exposed to at certain ages, right? And I would like my voice heard. So but hopefully everybody knows how to get in touch with me, because I have a number of parents that reach out, and voice their opinion, and I pass it on, and we do discuss it within the committee.
You also have that open time at meetings to discuss that, right?
We do, yeah. And we have public comment. So we can't, unless it's on the agenda, we can't, interact with the people that are speaking during public comment. However, we take their comments into consideration. And, if they need to be acted on, we do. And there's some cases where we've acted pretty quickly.
Right. So we always try to end with some fun, outside the box type of questions here as we wrap up. So, what's a Rich Greer fun fact?
I've played violin since I was 5 years old.
No way.
Yeah. I was a product of the music program in Marshfield here. Yeah.
Excellent. So, in the movie about you, who's playing you and why?
Well, it's funny. I'll go with what my kids would say. It would be the actor that plays Red Foreman on that 70s show.
That's a good one. If people want to find out more about you, is there a place that they can go?
Well, I'm on Facebook. It's under Richard Greer. I also have a political page which doesn't really tell much about me, but also my folks can reach out to me by cell phone, and I'll throw it out there. It's 617-676-8376. Anybody in this community is more than welcome to reach out, whether it's compliments, complaints. I'm elected to represent them. Right.
Excellent. And last but not least, why are you the best candidate for this position?
Well, I have a bit of experience. I went from being the most junior, the youngest, most junior member of the committee to within a couple of years being the oldest, most senior member.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about I'm just thinking of the people that you've and how many terms you've had and how all the different types of people you've served with.
Oh yeah. Well, when I first got on, I was with Carol Schran, Marty Morrison, Dennis Scollins, and Nancy Curry, and I learned a lot. Yeah. If I don't know if I'd know as much without them.
Right.
They were great mentors.
Yeah.
And then now we have the members of the board now are all great. I look at us as a high-performance team, and to have a high-performance team, you have to have each member that brings something special to the table, right? And I think the other 4 members do. And what I bring is that business piece, as well as the management piece. I'm big on policies. And so that's what I bring to the table.
Well, Rich, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I want to wish you the best of luck during this always fun election season.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And that's all the time we have for Meet the Candidates. And until next time, make it a great day.